So there are people asking, why are people still buying houses? And I get it. Prices are high, interest rates are high. A lot of people expected the market to crash, all this different stuff. But there are still people buying houses. Now it's slowed down some, but people are still buying. Why is that? So we're going to talk through some of those reasons today. What's up, everybody? Mark Cannonre, your local real estate agent here in the Phoenix area. And if you find value in these videos, like the video, share it with your friends, I'd appreciate it. But let's get right into it. Why are people still buying houses? People are asking that because they're frustrated. And I get it. I have clients that are frustrated because I was hoping prices were going to come down. I was hoping rates were going to come down so that way I could buy and it's more affordable because we don't have a ton of affordability right now. And I get it. So there's a lot of frustration there. And that's okay, because the question remains, okay, why are people buying houses? So one of the things I look at, if you want to take a look at my website, I actually post some of this stuff. So what I actually showed was every week I do some numbers. Well, this last week I showed, we had 881 new listings, 778 new home sales. What does that really mean? Okay, we had 100 more houses come on the market than were sold. Okay, so we're still gaining in how many homes are on the market, which we have around 16,000. Okay. So we've been gaining, but people are still buying. Now, the question remains, okay, well, how many people have been buying? Those numbers normally that I showed you of the 881 and all the stuff, those are normally double. If you look earlier in this year when I did a lot of my videos and I talked about my website, I change these numbers every week, but it's one of those that these numbers are normally double in 15 to 1,800, somewhere in that range. And it's like, okay, so we are doing less. Now, part of that is the holidays, right? So that was technically Thanksgiving week. So that was the holidays. So the holidays do play a fact in real estate. So it's going to be a little bit slower. So, November, December, it's probably going to be a little bit slower. Plus, interest rates are still really high. Prices haven't come down. We've seen about 1% to 2% equity growth this year. So it's one of those that not a whole lot has changed. I think interest rates are in the low sevens now. So it's one of those that not a ton has changed. So the market's still slowing down. So with not as many homes coming on the market, we still don't have as many buyers due to the holidays and high rates and all that stuff. But why are people buying right now? That is the real question that we're going to try and grasp. So when we're trying to grasp, why are people still buying? We have to realize that everyone's situation is different. Now, I will always reiterate, I believe that people should try to, when they try to buy a home, that you can do it with under 30% of your monthly income, right? So if you're married, all right, 30% of our net monthly income needs to go towards living expenses. We don't want to go over 30%. Now, can people do that? Yes. We recommend 30% because we want people to be financially stable. If you're up near 45, 50%, it's going to be harder if something happens in life to where you may not be able to cover it. So that's why we suggest less than 30%. So it's one of those that I still hold to all of that. Why are people buying right now? Couple of different reasons. One, and probably a major one, is people are tired of renting. What happens when you rent? It can fluctuate. 1 year it's there, and then the next year they're like, oh, we're raising it $200. What? People have experienced it. If you live in apartments, happens all the time that they raise rent. And it's just like, well, no. Then you have to move again. And listen, moving sucks. People hate moving. I hated moving when I lived in apartments and stuff like that. And now when you live in a house, it's like, oh, I don't have to move next year. This is great. So that is a major thing. When you go on Reddit and read different things, people talk about that a lot. I don't want to move again. I don't want to have to keep fighting with a landlord. They're tired of renting. That's why a lot of people are moving still, because they're tired of renting. They're saying, you know what, screw it, I'm going to save money. And they've been doing that past couple of years to actually go and buy a house. So another reason that people are still moving and are still buying houses is they've been saving for a couple of years. People saw low interest rates and all that stuff, and they were like, oh, I'm not ready yet. But they've been saving. And this is true throughout history. It's not just particular to this year. It's people have been planning ahead. There might be people who are newly married or whatever, got a new job, and they're like, all right, I'm going to start saving. They've been saving for a couple of years. Now they're ready to buy because they're putting 10, 20% down. Okay. That's where it's one of those, it does depend on your situation because not everyone's situation is different. Some people have been planning for this. They've been saving up for it. So it's one of those that we can't just look at people like, oh, how can you buy right now? Well, I've been planning for it. I've been saving for it. It may not be ideal, but they're saying, hey, it fits my financial situation. And that's where we talk about financial situation, right? People are saying, oh, renting is cheaper. And it can be. Renting can be cheaper, but not always. I've had clients in the past couple of months that they went and bought houses and their monthly payment was $100 more than their rent. Okay? Especially if you have a family or something, it's hard because you can't just go to a 2-bedroom apartment. You have to have 3, 4 bedrooms for your kids. When you go to rent a house like that, or even there's not really 4-bedroom apartments, but if you have a 3-bedroom apartment, those things are expensive. I just had somebody, they moved out of a 3-bedroom apartment. It was $2,900 a month. That's nuts. And so it's one of those that sometimes if you're buying, now it has to be in the right areas. Like here in Phoenix, like can you buy in, let's say, North Peoria for that? No. Okay, you're not going to be doing that. And that's where it comes down to where you're buying. Where you buy is important because here's the reality. Let's take Phoenix, for example. In Phoenix, if you want to live in very popular areas, whether it be North Peoria, Scottsdale, whatever, Tempe, whatever it is, you're going to pay more to live in popular areas. It's just a reality of it. That's the way it is because that's a very popular area, so people want to buy there, so prices are higher demand. So with that, you're watching a lot of people right now not buying those popular areas or buying outside those popular areas. Like here in Phoenix, El Mirage, Surprise, Goodyear, Buckeye, they're buying in areas where it's way more affordable and they can get a good house and they're not breaking the bank, right? And again, that's the most important thing. People that are buying right now have either been saving up for all this and they've been planning for it and they're able to do it financially stable. Now, I'm sure there are people who are doing it that probably isn't smart, but I think a lot of people, from what we're seeing, is they're buying smart. They're saying, hey, I can afford this. My rent was pretty close to what, this is going to cost me for my mortgage. And that's the important thing, is making sure that financially it makes sense, because not everyone's situation is the same. Now, we aren't seeing as many buyers. Okay, I will say that. We aren't seeing as many buyers as we had. It's the holidays, interest rates are still high, so it's slower. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the way it is right now. So there are still buyers. There's just not as many, and there's just not as many listings because of the holidays and lots of things like that. So that's kind of where it stands. There's a lot more reasons too. I would love to talk with you about that if you have more questions about it. My information's below. I hope you'll reach out. Guys, you've been listening to The Real.